Hello, YouTube, and welcome to Becoming Rob. Today, we're going to be talking about are you intentional about leaving a legacy? I'm going to explain to you how C.S. Lewis influenced me and what he taught me about leaving an intentional legacy. Welcome to Becoming Rob. I am Rob. This channel is all about the things that have influenced me, how I have grown, how I am becoming Rob, becoming better every day. Today's daily motivation is going to come from the author John Charles Ryle. Uh, he has written this book called Thoughts. See, let me get it. There's a lot of light there. Thoughts for Young Men, okay, by John Charles Ryle, J.C. Ryle. Today's broadcast, today's live stream is going to have a definite um, twist, a leaning, and an influence of faith. I am a Christian, and so you'll hear some of those themes, but I think these are lessons that are important for everyone, especially for young men today. Listen to today's motivation. Matthew Henry tells a story of a great statesman in Queen Elizabeth's time who retired from public life in his latter days and gave himself up to serious thought. His former gay companions came to visit him and told him he was becoming melancholy. No, he replied, I am serious, for all are serious about me. God is serious in observing us. Christ is serious in interceding for us. The Spirit is serious in striving with us. The truths of God are serious. Our spiritual enemies are serious in their endeavors to ruin us. Poor lost sinners are serious in hell. And why then should not you and I be serious too? Oh, young men, learn to be thoughtful. Learn to consider what you are doing and whether you are going. Make time for calm reflection. Commune with your own heart and be still. Remember my caution. Do not be lost for want, for merely for want of thought. That is from J.C. Ryle and his book Thoughts for Young Men. Okay, I recommend it. Go ahead and get it. A lot of serious thoughts for you young men out there. Okay, today we're going to be talking about C.S. Lewis and what he taught me about leaving a legacy. Not, and this is not just legacy in the terms of monetary and um, sort of a wealth that you leave in your legacy. This is also the legacy of lessons. What are the substantial things that you are going to leave to those behind you, right? Especially if you have children, especially if you work with children. Shout out to all my teachers out there. Both my parents are teachers. I have two aunts that are teachers and a couple cousins that are teachers. So teaching is something that my family has done. And so if you work with young people in any capacity, shout out to you. It is noble work. And then hopefully today's podcast helps you to think about what are you leaving to those young people, whether they be your own children, the own young people in your family, or the young people you influence. Let me not forget about my coaches out there. I played football. I played football, basketball, ran track, and played baseball growing up. So I know the importance, the deep influence a coach can have on leaving something to young men and women. So shout out to all my coaches out there as well. What are you leaving to the next generation? What are you leaving to those young people that you influence? Okay, so I'm going to go to this book called God in the Dock. This is a series of essays from C.S. Lewis. He did not write God in the dock specifically. He did not write these essays specifically for the book God in the Dock. Instead, God in the Dock is a collection of essays that have been brought together from C.S. Lewis. And this uh, essay that I'm going to read from today is called On the Transmission of Christianity. C.S. Lewis wrote this essay as a entry into a book that was specifically about the passing down of Christianity and Christian principles from one generation to the next. It was a sort of a research book and trying to understand how the principles of Christianity are being passed down from generation to generation. And this is C.S. Lewis's thoughts on how not only how Christianity is passed down, but just like what I call legacy in general. What is going to be our moral and philosophical legacy that we as adults are going to leave to our children, to those that we coach, to those that we teach, to any of the young people that you influence? What is going to be your moral, your intellectual, your philosophical legacy that you are leaving to the young people? Because we've all heard people who are older who have had that complaint, like, what is the younger generation doing, right? I remember being that younger and up and coming generation and hearing people complain about what younger people are doing. And now here I am. I have two children of my own. I've coached soccer, I've coached football. Um, I've taught kids in various uh, contexts and atmospheres, and now I'm having that question asked, not of me, but of those that I influence. What is going to become of those that I have influenced? What have I left? What will they say about their time that they spent with me? What am I passing on to them? What is the legacy I'm going to leave? And ultimately, the point that C.S. Lewis is going to make here is that there is nothing in the up and coming generation that they possess that they did not receive from the previous generation. C.S. Lewis tends to turn the mirror on those of us who are in those influential positions. The question is not what is the rising generations, what are they becoming? The question is, what have we made of them? What have we given to them? And he says there's certain things we should not be surprised because we did not put the effort into passing those things along. Okay, let me read a little bit and then I'm going to give my thoughts. Okay, this is from God in the Dock. Specifically, the essay is, let me give you that again, is on the transmission of Christianity. C.S. Lewis says it like this: none can give to another what he does not possess himself. No generation can bequeath to its successor what it has not got. You may frame the syllabus as you please, but when you have planned and reported ad nauseum, if we are skeptical, we shall teach only skepticism to our pupils. If fools, only folly. If vulgar, only vulgarity. If saints, sanctity. If heroes, heroism. Education is only the most fully conscious of the channels whereby each generation influences the next. It is not a closed system. Nothing which was not in the teachers can flow from them into the pupils. He goes on to say, a society which is predominantly Christian will propagate Christianity through its schools. One which is not will not. all the ministries of education in the world cannot alter this law. Okay, so you can see the point C.S. Lewis is making. He says that everything that is in the teacher is naturally going to flow to the students, and anything that is not in the teacher will not flow to the students. And so he also makes the point here that, and he uses like a 40-year gap. So he says that what we see in the rising youth today is was what was grasped, what was held as important by the generations that were uh, moving into the professional ranks 40 years ago. So we must ask ourselves, as we have moved into the professional ranks, what do we hold as important? What do we hold as dear? What is it that we feel that we must pass on for the up and coming generations to be better? This is so important as you think about how are you raising your kids? What are you verbally and intentionally communicating to them for them to find important? And what are you non-verbally communicating to them that should be important? Because, as they say sometimes, more is caught than taught, right? We definitely speak to those the younger people we influence. We speak to them, and we mean every word we say, and we want them to grasp what we're trying to give to them. However, they also watch everything we do. And if the saying is true, they find that to be more influential than what we say. I see this with my girls, and sometimes they make me laugh, and they give my wife a hard time because as they grow, I see them wanting to be like their mother. And uh, here, my wife is aware of all of uh, the 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 positives and negatives that her attitude, her demeanor, her actions possess. And here she is. She's trying to teach them to be the best of what she is, right? But naturally, they are they are watching her and they want to do all that she does. So now it becomes very important, very integral. Not only what she says, not only in those moments where she is directly teaching them uh, something that is important, something that is true, something that is noble, that they must learn and grasp. She must also embody those things. She must also act those lessons out because they are watching and they want to be like their mother. They want to do the things their mother does. And it's the same for all of us. Yes, I'm imprinting upon my daughters as well. You have children, you have sons, you have daughters, you have nieces and nephews that are watching you. You are imprinting upon them every day. You must recognize that you are writing your legacy in every single action that you take. What do you want to see in the rising generation, as I like to call her? What do you want to see in the rising generation? Whatever that is, you must embody it. It must become part of your routine. It must become part of who you are. It must become part of what you do. And when it does, you will naturally pass that on. So 40 years from now, right? As I'm in the, if you're like me, you're probably in the prime of your influence with young people. 40 years from now, what do I want those young people to say, right? When they are in their 40s and they are in their 50s and they are having an impact on all of society. What do I want them to say? What do I want them to remember about what Rob, who Rob was? What did he do? What did I take from what he did? The way he lived, he showed X, Y, and Z was important. And so this is what each of us have to think about. What are you passing on to uh, those that you influence? How are you imprinting upon the rising generation? C.S. Lewis says we should not be surprised if the things that we see in the upcoming generation that we do not uh, really care for, because it may have been things that we unintentionally passed on in the way we acted, in the way we embodied what was important, what did we show that was valuable, right? So I think it's not a critique on uh, previous generations or anything, but I mean it more as to be a thought process about personal growth, right? But you can see the different things that was important to previous generations and how they have reverberated into the younger and rising generations. Sometimes we as in humanity, previous generations have done things with the best intentions. However, it has not reverberated with the best um, the best consequences, the best results throughout the future. I could think about how important self-esteem is, and how I think the pendulum may have swung too far in the area of self-esteem, and so we have um, lost the sense of accomplishment. We have lost the importance of the influence of failure, because self-esteem has been taught in a way where you must always win. You must always feel good. To feel bad about failure, to feel bad about disappointment causes low self esteem. And maybe it has in certain cases, but failure is important. There's lessons in failure, there's lessons in struggle, there's lessons in disappointment. Important lessons that the rising generation must learn. And so, as I think about it, I have to be conscious as this protective dad, wanting all the good things to happen to my daughters. I have to slowly raise my hand, raise the hedge of protection, prepare them, use my protection to prepare them, and send them forth. And they take those lessons, they take they take those lessons, they take what they've seen, and they must apply it. And sometimes they are going to fail, sometimes it's going to be hard for them, sometimes they're going to run into disappointment, and then they come back to me, we talk about it. I try to protect them, and one of the ways I protect them is letting them know that this is not the end. Yes, you have failed. Yes, you have run into disappointment, but this is not the end. You can bounce back. You can try again. You can do something different. This is not This is not it. It's not even a reflection on how I love you. It's not a reflection on your worth as a human being, as a young lady. This is just a momentary setback. And that lesson, those lessons are important because they are naturally going to run into setbacks in life. And so I cannot use my protection to, in a sense of trying to make sure they have high self esteem and guard them from all disappointment, guard them from all sadness because I'm afraid that it might fracture their what we call self esteem. There's a lesson in self esteem and failure, right? There's a lesson in self esteem and failure if you are able to bounce back from it. If you can experience disappointment and continue to go, you can then, as you get to the other side, you look at yourself and you have this newfound self esteem. You have this newfound self confidence, understanding that I am durable. I can make it through hard times. I think about the movie. Have you seen the movie? Bu- 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 the Disney movie with all the emotions. The young girl with all the emotions. Man, if my daughters was here, okay. So I should I come to you live because I don't have time to edit these things. But maybe I'll put a link to the movie. But you've seen the movie anyway. The premise of the movie is that this young girl has all these emotions and um the ultimate but there was a drive by many of the other emotions to uh limit the young lady's experience of sadness. So eventually they kick sadness. Eventually they kick sadness out of the young girls. Um, her little set of emotions, her psyche. But the moral of the movie is that sadness is important to the young girl's development. Sadness is important to all of our development. And so the point of life is not to avoid challenge, not to avoid sadness, not to avoid disappointment at all costs. Instead, we ought to experience, to learn, and to grow from it, to become more. And so that's just one of the things that I've seen in previous generations, and I'm just like just analyzing society. I'm sure there's so many more thoughts that have permeated through the various generations, and we may not like how it has come to fruition in our own. And so we must be aware of that, and now we must become something different. We want to pass on something different. We want to be intentional about what we're passing on because we want to pass on what's best. We want the up and coming generations to be a collection of all that was good in the previous generation. As we each generation should work to shed off that which is negative, as we try to pass on that which is good, that which is true, that which is pure, those things that are noble, those things that drive us to be stronger. Those are the things we want to pass on, and we want the up and coming generations to be a collection of all that was best within us, and we try to shed off those things that are less than noble, less than perfect. So I want you to think about it. I want you to think about all that you are passing on, your legacy. What are some of the lessons that you have learned that you are intentional about passing on to your children? Even as I think about it, I just thought about how bad I was. how bad I was with finances and how I learned a lot of bad habits from my mother and father. And so now I have to be intentional. I have to be intentional of fighting those bad habits and passing on a healthy relationship with finances to my to my children and to those that I influence. I teach, teach kids in various contexts. I must pass on something different, something more healthy, something that's going to help them to prosper, something that's not going to be a burden on them like it was on me, right? And so I want to pass on those lessons, and so that they don't have to learn those lessons the hard way. So I want you to think about that. Tell me what you think. What are some things that have influenced you deeply? What are the good things that have happened to you that you want to pass on? What are some of the traumas that previous generations have imprinted on you, and that you have taken the steps to make sure that you don't pass those things on to your children, to the young people you influence? Okay, leave me a comment down there in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe if these conversations are helping you. Remember, I come to you live. I just don't have time for anything else. I am about to get out of here, go upstairs, take care of my family. I hope you do the same. I will talk to you tomorrow. Remember, every morning, 5:30 a.m. California time, I'm going live, okay? I'll see you tomorrow.